All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Jimmy T Podcast. I'm back. I am James.
And I'm Brandon.
And we are back this week to talk about some awesome UCF sports.
It's been a phenomenal week.
Yes. I really think this week of basketball could be looked back at as like the week that I think could have been a huge turning point for the program.
Major turning point.
Yes, because and the funny thing is that it came with wins against Tulsa and East Carolina, respectively.
Yeah. Two conference teams.
Yes, and one was Tulsa, coming off of what we covered was not a great week last week for the Knights. That it just was two disappointing losses, and especially a crushing one at home to UConn. But they bounced back, and they had a fantastic game against Tulsa.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about coming off of like a 5-game losing streak that they really needed to turn the tide here, and they did it.
Yes, with a Valentine's Day game at the CFE, and it was very neck and neck for a lot of the game. I will say, because all of a sudden at the very end the score just got out of hand as the Knights just drained threes to finish out the game, and it ended up making it look a lot more comfortable than it necessarily was, as it was pretty competitive. But I mean, UCF did lose to Tulsa the first time around playing them.
Yeah.
So
it's good that they had the confidence going into the game and didn't let that phase them.
Because that was something we kind of talked about last week too, was this Knights basketball team, one of the main reasons why new athletic director Danny White wanted to make a change was they always had ugly stretches to finish the season, and it was games like this at Tulsa that after a tough week, because tough weeks are going to happen no matter who you are. Yeah, if you're Duke or you're Siena College. And that's that. The tough weeks are going to hit your team, but it's how, when you have talented players and a good coach, how are you going to bounce back? And is that coach going to be able to make that change and kind of hit the brakes and be like, no, we're not going
we need to put a stop
here.
to this.
Yes.
And we just need to do what we do best and just keep winning.
To change the culture,
exactly.
To make it a winning culture for basketball, because it's always that, hey, we're talented, we should win. But, we didn't. And
you don't always win, and it's how you respond to those losses is what really shows a good team.
And I think this was a culture-changing week that started off with a fantastic game. Even in the words of Coach Dawkins himself, said it was the best game they've played against Tulsa. And my guy calling out last week said, past 2 weeks, I've said A.J. Davis needed to have that game where he finally took everything over, and he did that against Tulsa. It was exactly what I was just pounding the table asking for, and he gave it.
He stepped up and he delivered. He was an impact player, truly.
Yes, and
in that Tulsa game.
I feel like the basketball team may have watched our video, because they answered a lot of the things we talked about. Was that who was going to step up? Who was going to be that other shooter, that other player outside of Matt Williams? And Banyard stepped up in a huge way. He just was, and he attributed it to being more aggressive, and instead of picking and choosing his moments, he just went for it. Maybe that's something he needed, but it was just that other guy who stepped up that we kept asking, saying, "Listen, we need someone to step up, because this just really isn't going to cut it anymore with it just being one person." But unfortunately, I will add that little caveat because I can't be entirely positive. Banyard is a senior and will not be with us next season. But for right now, for this season, he has answered the call as to who's going to be that other guy down the stretch, which has been fantastic.
And hey, you got to look at it one season at a time, and other players might, kind of follow suit and say, hey, if he can step it up and turn it on in a game, why can't I?
Yeah, maybe I just need to be more aggressive. Maybe I need to follow an experienced senior player's lead of just going for it.
Yeah, and anybody can just turn that little switch, turn on the aggressiveness, and just really go after it and have a huge game like he did.
Their season's not over, because regardless, they do get guaranteed postseason play for just being a part of the American, as that is coming up, and we'll cover that a little bit more next week as we get closer to that. But one thing before we completely finish up the Tulsa game, I hate the white uniforms that they wear for the basketball games.
Not exciting.
That's what it is. It looks bland to me. Like for the football team, They embraced kind of having flashy uniforms, kind of having that just flash and pizzazz to what they were bringing out. Just the white uniforms every single game at home. It
looks like an away game.
Yeah,
almost.
it looks like an away game, and it looks like they may as well just have like a T-shirt on out there. Let's go get a champion T-shirt from the bookstore. Wear that instead of a nice Nike uniform that they are wearing out there.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not a fan.
I think they could definitely take some hints from the football team.
Yeah,
people like the flashy uniform.
Yes,
football team got like uniform of the week.
Yep.
So I think with the Nike connection now, I think that they can get some really exciting uniforms out there.
Yes, and that's something that maybe they need to go into this offseason and say, like, hey, like, we got some W's this year. Hook us up with some gear.
Hook us up.
And we'll be a little flashy. But that's something that at least mix it up. At least alternate it then with the black and white at home.
Case.
Let the fans see the fun jerseys, like the nice black. I mean, it's nice. And then before the ECU game was the UCF women's basketball team beating the USF women's basketball team to continue to add on to that lead in the war on I-4.
We're pulling away.
Oh, yes. That made me very happy. And then what it was even better was last night with the ECU game.
Oh, that was a great game.
Fantastic game away on the road in the American towards the end of the season when these games matter. They count. Even if we're a little bit further back than what we want, these games still matter.
It's so important. You still got to have the discipline. And one of the most important things is just grinding out those away wins.
And then the other person who stepped up was Taco. He had a fantastic game. He stayed out of foul trouble. And that also could be that he got a little bit more help from the officials this time around. And so that's good. I think they said it was like one flagrant was actually called on one of the guys that went after him.
Yeah.
And so that's good. But I think kind of like I said, they had to have watched our show. Someone did, and just put that
somewhere.
Yes, just put that into what happened this week because just the list of things that we were said just got checked.
Officiating,
and then another was because the game was very close. Came down to the last 2.6 seconds. Was Lang drew a foul at 2.1. And made one of the free throws to kind of push the game out of reach, and that was what we talked about, making free throws and how important those are at the end of games when you want to get those wins, and that was a huge one because that changes what was a 2-point game to a 3-point game. So when ECU is able to get a chance to go down there to try and get a last second heave, they're not just going to be able to.
They can't just go into
not get an easy 2, and so they're able to have to go for the 3, and that's just important stuff that I was like very excited, and I was not the only one who was excited because Coach Dawkins was
ecstatic.
Yes, and that for me, I love seeing that.
Fired up as a fan.
Yes, I've seen that out of a coach, and my coach is like, yes, like he's a fan too, and just to be able to see that kind of emotion because he's a fan of them as well, because he sees these guys every day, and so to kind of see that success from them, it was I was happy to see that they were able to get that emotion.
Just the passion that the coach brings, and I don't know, I think that's something that goes a long way with the players to show that he really cares and like he's gonna do whatever he can, and he wants them to win so bad. But cool thing, Matt Williams, 97 threes.
Yes, that's the most ever in the American Conference, and it's a short life is that anyone's made. That's amazing. I mean,
he's gonna break it every game.
Yes, so he's continuing to set more records every time he sets out on the court, and that's exciting. And then another question we'll briefly touch on before we move on was we were talking about who's going to be able to fill these spots because we do have important players like Matt Williams, Tank, and Banyard all leaving at the end of this season. And I heard this earlier in the week, but then I was actually able to see this, is that we have 4 transfers that have been sitting out in Terrell Allen, Dayan Griffin, Rokas Yulvidis, and Aubrey Dawkins, which is Coach Dawkins' son.
Of course.
And then an interesting part there was that he's actually going to be coming on as a walk-on. He will not be a scholarship player for the Knights, and that was kind of an interesting thing as a fan to see that, wow, the coach isn't even giving his son a scholarship, like even giving him an easy break because he's still coming in as a transfer. So that'll be something very interesting to watch. And another name that I will point out is Chance McSpadden. He has been out all year with an ACL injury, and I totally forgot about him, to be entirely honest, because he was a great freshman for us last year. And so these are a lot of reinforcements that will be coming in along with other recruits as well, and that'll be a storyline that we will definitely be following throughout the year. And also talk about recruiting. As we mentioned it before, football's still doing it.
They just keep pouring in.
Yep, all these visitors. From right here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And that's just in a week.
Yeah, 7. Yeah, so like 7 days just within this week. And then another to tie is the NFL is doing their recruiting now.
They're picking out their future players.
Yes,
too.
and they're going for the best in the country at a draft eligible student athletes, and one of them was our very own Shaquille Griffin, who will be representing UCF at the NFL Combine in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's always exciting to see that our players are getting that recognition that they really deserve.
Yes, and so that'll be really fun to see. I know that I like sitting and watching the draft, so I'm the Combine, and so we'll definitely be. I don't know. I'll be tuning in to at least see the highlights of it. I'm sure UCF will be posting it as well, as he is their only representative at the Combine this year. But it's good. It's good to see that after a quality player for us that got recognition for being quality, and will most likely have a very solid shot at being drafted if you're being invited. It means that a lot of teams have some eyes on you.
People want him on their team, and I think that it'll just show that UCF really has some talent, and hopefully just opens the door for future players to get into the NFL and get invited to the Combine and get that recognition that they really deserve.
Yep. And so I am happy for him, and we will be keeping our fingers crossed and rooting for him that he's able to impress someone. And then what we will do, we'll do a little behind the scenes on air, is that we are planning on doing feature videos where we talk about different players for our different teams here at UCF. And the first thing we will do is we will kind of draft them briefly of players that each Brandon and I are going to do videos about in the future to kind of talk about and break down during the off season. And so I went first, and I got Traquan Smith for the football team, wide receiver. So what are you going for?
My first pick, it's got to be Donald De La Haye. Kicker.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, he's a funny guy, impact player. So
okay. I will do Jemias Pittman. That's what I want. Defensive tackle.
Okay.
I liked him a lot.
I think I'll go with T.J. Mutcherson, D-back.
Is he coming back?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But
if we have stuff, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about, like, maybe we can kind of also include, like, impact players to kind of leave in the gap that he'll be filling as he did.
He was a fifth-year player, and so
yes. I will take my favorite player, Milton.
Yes. Milton's going to be my next pick.
No. I want to be able to give him his full due.
Okay. That'd be interesting to get the behind-the-scenes on Mackenzie.
Yes.
Trying to think. I guess got to go with Adrian Killens.
Oh, there you go.
See?
There we go. Everyone's getting the stars. Don't worry about it. Everyone's going to get their people. All right. So where do I want to go? My man, Jordan Akins. I will take him.
True.
Yes.
Let's go with Tristan Payton.
Okay.
Mix it up. Get a wide receiver in there.
All right, and then we'll just take one more.
Okay.
Okay, where am I gonna go? I will go. Oh no, he's not coming back. Darn it. I'm trying to think. I will talk about our place kicker, Matthew Wright.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, we each have a kicker now too.
Yes. Okay. So your last one.
Let's go with Jaquan Briquette.
Okay. We don't know how to spell that, so I'll phonetically spell it, and we'll figure it out how it is afterwards. All right. So, and then before we fully wrap up is we will briefly talk about baseball, which they did start this weekend, and with a bang, I may add.
Absolutely.
A 17-6 win over Siena College.
So, not a powerhouse,
no,
but a great weekend.
Yes.
The first game had massive record-setting attendance. They had
2,621.
It's a lot of people, and I went out and the stands were packed.
That's awesome. No, because I did see it was like, wow, that looked like a good time.
Really fun. And Eli Putnam, second pitch of the game, went yard.
First hit of the game.
Just gone.
That's a hell of a way to open up the season, and it's something that we'll continue to keep our eye on baseball. And if they're able to continue with games like that, that'll definitely get
the attendance.
Yeah,
out there.
that'll get people to continue to come out to the game. And for UCF news was very interesting this week as tickets went on sale for Daniel Tosh coming to campus.
one of our most notable alumni.
Yes, I got my ticket to go. I do know that because as tickets are on sale now. So good luck if you're listening to this and want to go and haven't gotten your ticket. But I know I got mine.
Oh, I'll definitely be going out, seeing him. He's an incredible comedian.
Yeah,
so.
he even tweeted at UCF asking if he could crash in his old Lake Claire apartment room. That would be something if they actually
That'd be
did
funny.
that.
Hey, UCF and UCF Housing both responded.
Yeah, saying like, let's do this because it just gets the publicity and that's easier to sell rooms that way. But no, but it is something really cool that's fun with alum like that to come back and kind of have that fun interaction to kind of show like that love that obviously he has for this university to come back and do that
multiple times
Yes.
and stuff.
So that's a lot of fun. And then other news that we'll briefly touch on as we did speak about baseball was that UCF is still doing their fundraising for the expansion for the baseball stadium.
Yeah, they just passed $2 million.
That's impressive.
So.
And it's something that for a lot of people it's like, why baseball? Why do that? And I think the important thing to look at is recruiting. It's also for selling tickets too. Because if you're going to be able to get people that want to see our baseball and you want to get wealthy alum to come back and want to see baseball, you're going to have a nice place for them to be.
Exactly.
And then for the player standpoint, you want to be able to have them that allow them to have a nice facility to play in. The quality of facilities is important.
It matters to players.
Because especially with baseball being so unique compared to football, those guys don't have to come to college.
No, they could just go straight into the MLB playing for a farm team.
Yeah, they could go right down the street with the new team. If they get drafted by the Braves, they end up with the Florida Fire Frogs. Like they just end up in all those different places that you kind of go off where Kissimmee isn't the middle of nowhere entirely.
Yeah.
But you end up in just kind of rough places that it's hard. That's a hard life to be
coming right out of high school.
Yeah, going into a farm team, not making a ton of money, but you're making money. So UCF has to have that argument to say, hey, come play at this amazing facility, be able to build up your resume before you go and get an education in the process. And you need a nice facility to be able to pull away some of those better players. And then like we said for recruiting in the past is if you're able to get one player, and that'll open the door for more to come. And so that is a story that if they're able to fully get all this money will be definitely something to check out. And so I think that's all we had to cover today. But
it's been a good week for UCF.
It has been, and I really hope that we talked about that culture change for basketball. I think that's what this week was, and I really look forward to seeing how it finishes out for the season.
Yeah.
All right, this has been another episode of the Jimmy T Podcast. Don't forget to check us out on social media, and don't forget to check out those featured episodes we'll be doing on players as they'll be coming down the pipe pretty soon. And this is James.
And I'm Brandon.
And we'll see you next time.